has, prior to ascending to the bench, dedicated her entire legal career to public service. After representing indigent clients as a public defender for 6 years, as a staff member of the Legal Aid Society in Brooklyn, she then switched over and prosecuted corruption in the criminal justice system as a special state prosecutor. She later prosecuted bias-related crimes and supervised staff attorneys in the Kings County District Attorney's Office as chief of their Civil Rights Bureau and as a chief of a felony trial bureau. For over 20 years before her appointment to the Appellate Division, Justice Barros presided over criminal, matrimonial, and guardianship matters in her role as a Supreme Court Justice. Justice Barros is a board director of the Latino Judges Association and is also a member of the Brooklyn Bar, the Puerto Rican Bar, the New York State Women's Bar, and the Brooklyn Women's Bar Association. The daughter of Chilean immigrants, Justice Barros was born and raised in Brooklyn, where she still resides with her husband. The Honorable Hector LaSalle, Associate Justice of the Second Department. Justice Hector LaSalle was elected to the Supreme Court, Suffolk County in 2008. Justice LaSalle was appointed by Governor Andrew Cuomo as an Associate Justice of the Appellate Division in January 2014. Prior to serving in the Appellate Division, Justice LaSalle served as a trial judge in Suffolk County Supreme Court and as a justice of the appellate term for the 9th and 10th Judicial Districts. Justice LaSalle's legal career began with the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office in 1993 as an assistant DA. In 1999, he joined the New York State Attorney General's Office as an assistant attorney general. Justice LaSalle returned to the Suffolk County DA's office in 2002, becoming a lead gang prosecutor and deputy bureau chief of the Special Investigation Bureau prior to his 2008 election to the bench. He received a Bachelor of Arts in Political Science from Penn State University in 1990 and his JD from the University of Michigan School of Law in 1993. Hector is married to Andrea LaSalle and they have 2 children, Tatiana and Alex. Judge LaSalle, welcome, and we hope to be able to add yet another piece of information to that bio in short order. If, again, the LJA is very fortunate in having yet another member ascend as PJ to the Second Department, we wish you much luck. The Honorable Lisbeth Gonzalez, Associate Justice, First Department, and finally, my first sister to the Appellate Division, First Department. Justice Gonzalez was appointed to the Appellate Division First Department by Governor Andrew Cuomo in November 2019. She previously served in a dual capacity as an Associate Justice of the Appellate Term First Department, appointed effective July 2016, and as a Supreme Court Justice elected in Bronx County effective January 2016. During her tenure as a judge, she has served as an acting Supreme Court Justice, a family court judge, a civil court judge, and a housing court judge. Before ascending to the bench, Justice Gonzalez served as an Assistant Attorney General for the New York State Department of Law, Assistant Corporation Counsel for the New York City Law Department, Director of Legal Services for the American Indian Law Alliance, Senior Attorney for MFY Legal Services, and Visiting Fellow at the Puerto Rican Legal Defense and Education Fund. She received her JD from New York University School of Law and her BA in Anthropology from Stony Brook University. Justice Gonzalez is a past president of the Latino Judges Association and the Network of Bar Leaders. Currently, she fulfills her passion through her work as co-chair of the Indian Child Welfare Act Committee of the New York Federal State Tribal Courts and Indian Nations Justice Forum. Justice Gonzalez was recently appointed to the board of the Stony Brook University Alumni Association. She is currently a visiting scholar at Stony Brook University, where she is studying the indigenous languages of Long Island. Welcome, Judge Gonzalez. The Honorable Manuel J. Mendez, Associate Justice, First Department, our newest member to the Appellate Division, First Department. The Honorable Manuel J. Mendez was elected to the Supreme Court, New York County in 2012. Old habits die hard. I'm sorry, my brother. He was appointed by Governor Andrew Cuomo as an Associate Justice of the Appellate Division, First Department in July 2020. Prior to serving in the Appellate Division, Justice Mendez served in New York County Supreme Court as coordinating judge of the New York City asbestos litigation, where he handled a docket of thousands of complex products liability and toxic tort cases. He began his legal career at the Legal Aid Society Criminal Defense Division, Bronx County in 1990. Are you sensing a trend here? Anyway, in 1993, he became a founding partner at the law firm of Kwasnick and Mendez. I hope I didn't mangle your partner's name. And in 1999, established the law offices of Manuel J. Mendez, PC. He was elected to the Civil Court, New York County in 2003, serving in Kings County Civil Court, in New York County Civil Court, and Bronx County Criminal Court. In 2010, he was appointed as an acting justice of the Supreme Court. As a trial judge, he presided over hundreds of civil trials, including the longest trial in the history of the city and possibly the state of New York in the In Re 91st Street crane collapse litigation. I remember that well. We had a lot of appeals from that case. He has been the recipient of numerous awards, including the Chief Justice Harlan Fiske Stone Memorial Award by the New York City Trial Lawyers Alliance on October 24th, 2019. Many of us attended that wonderful event. Justice Mendez received a Bachelor of Science in Public Accounting from Fordham University College of Business Administration, now the Gabelli School of Business. In 1983, and a JD from the Universidad Central del Este School of Law in San Pedro de Macorís, Dominican Republic in 1987. Welcome, Judge Mendez. And last but certainly not least, our lone brave attorney on the panel, Manuel A. Romero, Esquire. And he has a PC in his name. He is also a Second Department Judicial Screening Committee member. Manny is the principal of Manuel A. Romero, PC, where he concentrates his law practice in plaintiffs' personal injury cases from inception to trial. Manny has achieved several multi-million-dollar verdicts, including a $30.5 million verdict in 1998 for a pedestrian in a motor vehicle collision, the highest in Kings County that year. And in 2008, a $5 million verdict for a driver rear-ended by a New York City Transit Authority bus, the highest verdict in Kings County in that year. Manny is a member of Governor Cuomo's Judicial Screening Committee for the Appellate Division and is the immediate past chairman for 8 years of the New York State Grievance Committee for the 2nd, 11th, and 13th Judicial Districts, which handles attorney disciplines in those counties. Manny was elected president of the Brooklyn Bar Association in 2005 and currently sits on the Brooklyn Bar Association's board of directors and the board of directors of the Brooklyn Bar Foundation. He is a member of the Brooklyn Bar Association Supreme Court Committee, Judicial Screening Committee, Torts Committee, and the Civil Committee. Manny is also a member of the Judicial Screening Committees of the Office of Court Administration, the New York State Bar Association for the Court of Appeals, for the Association of the Bar of the City of New York, and has served as a past member of the Kings County Democratic Party's Committee. It should be clear to you all now why he is on this prestigious panel. Welcome to you all. Your mic is on. Manny, your mic.
So too many judges have come across. It's an honor to be among you guys. I hope I didn't screen anyone improperly over all those years. Yeah, so
I doubt it, since you were highly recommended for this panel.
Thank you.
In any
Thank you,
case,
Honor. Thank you, Judge.
Without further ado, I'm going to ask each member of the bench, starting with Judge Barros, to relay to us, and you have each 5 minutes, your personal journey to the appellate division, relaying whatever part of that journey you think is most relevant and will be most helpful to the attendees of tonight's program. And in advance, I want to thank each and every one of you. Judge Barros, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. It's very interesting because in hearing the wonderful resumes that we just heard, it's very clear that there is no one road to the appellate division. It's like, it's so diverse. And so one of the most important things that I want to impart to you is that there is no catechism. There is no one way to do this. And that the most important thing, one of the most important things, and I think Manny will probably be able to attest better than any of us as to what is considered or not considered, is to be a judge not only of excellence, but also of fairness. Anybody coming before you, you have to treat them well, and not because you want, to pat yourself on the back, but because it's the right thing to do. And I think that your reputation for that in particular will go a very long way toward gaining credibility when you come before the screening committees, because the application is a very broad application. The application digs very, very deeply. And practically anybody who's appeared in front of you gets an opportunity to say whatever it is that they think merits saying about you. And so I think it's really, really important to understand that I think as a judge anyway is, for me anyway, is the most important thing, to treat everybody fairly and give everybody an opportunity to be heard, so that when you render your decision, that decision, everybody will have confidence that your decision was based on considering everybody's point of view. So I think it's really, really important to understand that, because your reputation is everything amongst your colleagues and amongst the litigants that appear before you. So my path, I can tell you right off the bat, I never in a million years thought I'd be on the appellate division. It's not something that I looked for. It's not something that I even thought, frankly, that I was qualified for, because, we all have our doubts about who we are and what we're capable of doing. And so sometimes things just happen because they're meant to happen, or it's a fortunate circumstance. You're in the right place at the right time. But of course, you have to have the foundation. And my background, you heard my background. That's the surface. The subtext, then I can give you a little bit of background about that, because that I think would be helpful to everyone. When I was in the district attorney's office, I was asked, as part of the community prosecution, I was a bureau chief there, and as part of community prosecution, I was asked to attend community activities by the district attorney. So I would attend anything from an anti-crime task force meeting to funerals. So we were sent out on a regular basis to, when there were victims, and we would try and go and let them know that there was an investigation, if there was one, or what the status might be of the prosecution. So I became a known entity in that community, because I was sent to speak and to participate in various anti-crime groups, and we were allowed to do that, obviously. And so the district attorney sent me, and I crossed paths with Assemblyman Vito Lopez. Anybody who's familiar with Brooklyn politics understands that it's very, very ethnic Brooklyn politics. So the Latino leaders represent the Latinos, and they choose the candidate. And I'm being very frank with you. They're the ones that put forth the Latino candidate. The Black community does the same thing. The Jewish community does the same thing. The Italian community does the same thing. It doesn't always work out for everyone, but that they're given some degree of weight and some degree of consideration. And so Assemblyman Lopez asked me, I had only known him for a few months at the time, and he asked me, are you interested in the bench? And I was in the process of going through the appointment process. My background was criminal. I thought be appointed to the criminal court bench might be a good next step. And I told him, yes, I was interested. And before I knew it, I was a backfill candidate countywide for the civil court bench. I was lucky in that regard. I mean, I was qualified, but I was also in the right place at the right time. And they knew me. I mean, the community knew me, that community anyway, the Latino community, which was Bushwick and Williamsburg, Brownsville, and Greenpoint. Those were the communities that I was a figure in attending meetings, etc. So he asked me if I was interested. I said I was, and before I knew it, it happened for me. And I can tell you, and you all know, your paths are all different. Some people have had very fierce fights for the civil court. They've had to contend with spending a lot of money and running elections and platforms and all that. And I didn't have to do that. So I was very fortunate in that regard. And when the opportunity came up for Supreme Court, again, I submitted my application. And it was similar because the Assemblyman was very supportive of my candidacy. For the appellate division, well, that was back in 1995, afraid to say. 1995 is when I was elected to the civil court bench. So fast forward to 2014, there were 5 vacancies at the time. And I can tell you now there are 7 vacancies on our court. So it was an opportunity, and a number of people approached me and said, why don't you submit? It's not something I thought about doing. I was happy doing my guardianships. I had background in criminal and guardianships. I had a little smattering of matrimonial, but I didn't have a civil court background at all, really, to speak of. It was a very intimidating idea that I, would go sit on the appellate division. I had very little background on that. It wasn't something that was a goal, but sometimes when opportunity knocks, and people are encouraging you, you say yes. And so I did. And I can tell you that it has been the most challenging assignment, challenging place that I've ever been. I've worked so very hard at this assignment. And it is very rewarding. And what I do want to walk away with, because I know my 5 minutes are almost up, is that it is so very, very important to have our voice at that table. I had no knowledge about what happened at that table before I got there. I really, you see the decisions. You don't know what happens behind the scenes. You don't know what goes into these decisions. You see these little slips. You have no idea what goes on, the decision, the deliberative process that goes on, the writings that go on, the back and forth that goes on. And our voice is important, and it's not going to be heard unless we're there. And I can tell you, I really do think that having people of color on that bench has drastically changed the philosophy of the court. I really do believe that. And so I would encourage all of you to get mentors, to speak to all of us who have gone through the process, and to really consider it, because the door is open right now. And walk through it. That's it for now.
Thank you so much. Judge LaSalle, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Just to follow up on Betsy, it's been a pleasure being a colleague of Betsy's as well as Ray, and I see Judge Hines Radix is here in the room too. I can tell you, just to start at the end, I guess, one thing Betsy said that's really important, and I suspect that many of you have been in this position, I certainly have. The importance of numbers in these institutions can't be overstated. Oftentimes, when you, at least me, when I'm the only Puerto Rican in the room, I feel I'm talking for all of us. I feel sometimes I have to be more concerned about our community. When we're all there together, there's a freedom to really go at issues. And knowing that Betsy's there and Ray's there, I know when issues come up, you have these people that you can turn to who have a similar background to you, that I think makes for a more fulfilling, a better institution and a more fulfilling profession. Again, when you're the only one in the room, as all of us have been from time to time, I think it puts a different onus on you, which at times can be restricting. Similar to Bet's, this was not something that that I had ever aspired to, the appellate division. I got my involvement politically as a young man after I graduated from law school. My family lived in Brentwood, New York. I don't know how many people are familiar with Brentwood on Long Island. It's a large Puerto Rican community. And, my block growing up was a bunch of people from East New York who all moved to the same block on Long Island together. So everybody was from Herkimer. And literally where we lived in Brooklyn is where we lived on Long Island, across the street from each other. And as the years went on, my family, very big family, was pretty well known in the community. So when I developed an interest in politics, it was great because I had a natural group to go to solicit votes from, right? And that helped me develop a little bit more of stature within the political community. You heard about my professional career, but I had worked really hard on a number of campaigns on Long Island, and that's how I got known in Democratic politics in Suffolk County. When I was fortunate enough to get to be elected to the Supreme Court in 2008, my only concern then was just to work really hard to do the best I could. I was fortunate with the appellate term, and I want to congratulate Judge Briganti and Judge Vutsanis for their appointments, because it was a wonderful opportunity for me. I just sent a resume and there was an opening. I sent one and I got it. So it wasn't as if I had to solicit political support for that position. I was very fortunate to have it, and it gave me a little bit of an insight. Well, it's much different than the appellate division. It gave me a little insight into appellate work. And fortunately, I think for me, gave me a vision as to what I could do professionally going forward. I developed a real passion for appellate work. And when an opportunity became available in 2014, I supplied my resume. I did so thinking, I did the application. And I think, Manny, I think you were on the panel back then. I put it in simply thinking that people would say, hey, LaSalle, you put it in, and you'll see what the interview process is like. You'll learn about it. And you try again in 4 years. And fortunately for me, I was appointed. And again, similar to Betsy, it's been the honor of my professional career. I've enjoyed it so much. If I can just offer, and I know there'll be questions later, and I want to move on real quick, but if I can mention just 2 things in case I don't get to mention them earlier. One, it's incredibly important, and I know Sally, being the dean of all of the appellate judges here, would know this as well as anyone. I think it's incredibly important that you strengthen your resume and your credentials. Other people don't need them. We do, okay? And that may seem unfair, and I'm not telling you anything you don't know already, but I've learned, and I'm learning firsthand, that necessarily credentials and experience aren't always what goes into it. But if we don't have them, we don't get the opportunity. That's just an unfortunate reality. And I think it's incredibly important that we maintain that. The second thing is, I also want to echo what Betsy had mentioned before. Please speak to those of us who are on the court right now, because I think we can give you insight into the interview process. And to the extent that PJ has a little bit of say, we could put a good word in. Sometimes that's helpful, although it's obviously a gubernatorial appointment. And the last thing, and Mr. Romero, I think, would agree with me on this, do your homework on the committee before you walk in that room. Know them like they know you, because they know everything about you. They know how much I owe on my house, right? They know my, I mean, the information that they request is so extensive. I think it's important that they've spoken to a lot of people about you, people who like you, people who might not. They know good things, they know bad things, they know rumors, they know innuendo. But I think it's important you know who you're talking to. And I just, it's been very helpful to me, and I know Mr. Romero will talk about that, more about that later, but really, really, really prepare for your screening. Know those individuals like they know you. It's incredibly important. And I know I've run out of time. I want to thank the chair for giving me this much of an opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And next, the Honorable Lizbeth Gonzalez. The floor is yours.
So, good evening, familia. It's good to see you, and I wish there were more people here. I've been on the appellate division now for a little over a year, and I can tell you that there are, and we sit every week, I can tell you that there are weeks and weeks and weeks that go by before I see an attorney of color appear before us. And as far as Latino appellate attorneys, unless they're in legal aid or in one of the defender offices, you really don't see a Latino presence on the other side of the counsel table. Having said that, I feel that there's tremendous value in tonight's discussion, because I would never have become a judge. I would never have considered applying for the housing court if it wasn't for Judge Torres. And once I was a housing court judge, I was very happy being there. And I would never have considered vying for a seat in the civil court if I wasn't pushed by the Puerto Rican Bar Association. And I was pushed to seek a nomination for the Supreme Court. And I was pushed to apply for the appellate term. And I was really pushed to apply for the appellate division, because every time that I've been in a court, I've been happy. I've been happy where I am. I've been happy with the family that inevitably involves you and embraces you, and happy with the work that we've done. And I have had a foot pushed against my backside to get like, come on, go for it. So I say to you in similar measure, go for it and don't eliminate yourself as a possible candidate. When I went through the commission, I was approved, and it was 2.5 years before I was actually appointed in November of 2019. Since then, I can tell you that the 4 judges who were appointed before me and the 4 judges who were appointed after me all have come from Manhattan. There are very, very few judges from the Bronx in the first department. So if you're interested in seeking appointment to the appellate division, the first challenge that I put before you is know the dynamics of the department in which you seek appointment. Know what the numbers are. Know how many people of color there are. Know how many lesbian and gay people there are. Know how many disabled people there are, because all of that is weighed during the appointment process at the governor's end. And the issues that face Bronx judges are different from the issues that face Manhattan judges. I wish you had seen my eyeballs pop the first time at the appellate term when I saw what a Manhattan rent looked like. I almost fell out. I was like, how much money are people paying for their apartments? Is $9,000? Were people stupid or something? How could you pay $9,000 for an apartment? And then when I got to the appellate division, I was like, how much money? $15,000 and $20,000 a month for an apartment. So why do I say this? Because the issues in each borough are different. And if you're in Brooklyn, the issues in Suffolk are going to be really different from the issues in Queens. They're different issues. And you have to be ready not only to handle those types of cases, you have to be comfortable with not knowing that area of law and learning it. So the whole scholarly process to me is fascinating, because truly being on the first department, I can tell you that it is a collegium of scholars, and it is a total privilege to be in that milieu. I have all this experience as a judge. You heard my resume. I've been at every court. Relish the opportunity to take on cases in areas that you don't know. And if there's a possibility of doing a CLE or mentoring with a judge who's in a totally different area, or speaking with an attorney or dealing with a bar association, go for it. Commercial litigation, those cases are not brought in not brought in the Bronx the way that they are in Manhattan. And these are not commercial litigations like, a small company or large company. These are multinational companies. These are transactions where there's accounts offshore. This stuff is not the part and parcel of a Bronx trial judge. So, excuse me 1 second, I just have to decline a call. So be comfortable with doing extra work. The more work you do, the more foundational work you do, the better prepared you will be for answering the questions that are tossed at you during the commission interview. The commission interview, like all judicial screenings, it's all over the place. You're going to be asked questions that have to do with how courts are run, because I have 1 more minute, says Sally. You can be asked about questions about how the courts are run. You can be asked questions about case management. Why? Because the volume of work that you will take on as a member of the appellate division is larger and bigger and also better than anything that anyone has described. So you have to be capable of self-discipline and the ability to organize your time in a very novel way. You can use and draw upon what you've already done, but it is vastly different. It is vastly different. Having said that, I'm just going to finish by saying I love it. I absolutely love it. And the time that I put into it is time that's it's priceless. It's so good. So think about it.
Thank you. Judge Mendez.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Judge Mansonet, Daniels, for giving me the opportunity to address this group of friends, because we know each other from the association and we've seen each other many times. Just like Judge Mansonet Daniels and I, we started out at the Legal Aid Society Criminal Defense Division in the Bronx, where we learned, what our people go through, and we learn also how to try cases. And I use that knowledge that I gained at Legal Aid, and I put it to practice in my community by basically helping out through legal clinics from the offices of then city councilmen, and also through the Dominican Bar Association. We used to have a clinic where every Saturday people came to see us, and we sort of like guided them. We also had different panels where we handled a particular issue on a monthly basis. We had a forum, whether it be immigration law, criminal law, civil law, commercial, because we have a lot of businessmen in the community who were signing leases and doing things without getting legal advice, and they kept getting into trouble. So they came to see us to try to get some advice to see how they could somehow better their situation. Well, that led to people getting to know me in the community. And when the situation presented itself, approaching me and asking me if I was interested in becoming a judge of the civil court. And, I was pretty happy practicing law, but my wife said to me, if you don't do this, you'll regret it later. And so I said, okay, I'll take a crack at it. I went to the panel, got reported out, and I got elected to the civil court. And it just so happens that the seat that was being vacated at the time was the seat of a person that you all know. He was becoming a judge of the Supreme Court, and I was taking over the seat that he was vacating, and that was Justice Rolando Acosta. So I gotta log in again with my polls. 1 second, please. So I took over Justice Acosta's seat in civil court. And I started out in Brooklyn, Kings County, which Judge Jeanette Rosado as my court attorney. And we worked our behinds off in Brooklyn. It was very intense, a lot of work. We did trials, we handled a lot of name changes, we did a lot of everything. But one thing that I told Judge Rosado at the time, my court attorney, said, we're here to open doors. We're here to establish a reputation so that whoever comes behind me, okay, they will be measured with the same stick. And so whoever comes behind me, they'll say, if this is someone like Mendez, then we want him. We want this person here. And we developed a reputation of, putting out a lot of work, getting our decisions out timely, being fair to both parties. I know everybody wants to be fair, but you got to give everybody an opportunity to be heard and show them that you've actually considered their arguments, and we put out written decisions. We put out written decisions and we were published. And so that was my reputation, and that continued through civil court into Supreme Court. Now, strengthening your resume, which is something that Judge LaSalle said, and I agree wholeheartedly with that. As I'm sitting in Supreme Court and I'm happy trying cases, I'm getting these assignments. One of them being that 91st Street crane collapse litigation, which was a amalgam of cases. It was a whole bunch of cases that evolved from a crane collapse on 91st Street and First Avenue. People died. An entire building was almost taken down. People got seriously hurt. And when Judge Feynman was elevated to the appellate division, they asked me to handle this thing. I was like the 6th judge that was handling that litigation. And I remember the attorneys coming to me and saying, we're fed up with getting moved around from one judge to the next. And I said to them, don't worry about it, because you know what? I'm the guy that's going to handle this. This case ends here. You're going to get your day in court. And again, we worked very hard and we tried this case, and the trial took 11 months. The trial took 11 months on a daily basis, day in and day out. Like Judge Daniels, I got appealed a lot. And I guess they backed me up a lot too, because I got affirmed a lot. and so that's what basically put me, I would say, put my name on the board. This person is qualified. And I started getting justices of the appellate division coming up to me and asking, well, aren't you interested in going up to the appellate division someday? And I was perfectly happy where I was. But then again, you know, when you have Justice Sheila Dubsalam come to you, and you have Justice Gish and Justice Acosta and Justice Manson and Daniels, you know, hinting at it, what do? You put your application in. And last thing that I ever expected was to get a call from the governor's council telling me that I was found to be highly qualified for the appellate division. That didn't mean that I got appointed right away. I waited 3 years before finally the call came from the governor to tell me that I was going to the appellate division. But you know, you gotta develop a reputation. You gotta treat people fairly. You have to be published. I think that's one of the things that they look at in the panel. You have to have a strong resume because, you know, we're not going to get it. And I hope I didn't get it simply because I'm a Latino. We're going to get it because we're qualified. And we have to convince the people that are sitting in that panel that we are qualified as anyone else to sit in the appellate division. And like Judge Gonzalez said, you know, it is an intellectual exercise. I mean, I've seen things that I had never seen before sitting in the appellate division. In my brief tenure there, I've only been there for about 3 months. But it's, you know, it's a lot of heavy lifting. It's a lot of reading. It's a lot of heavy lifting, and we have to be prepared for that.
Thank you so much. And now to our other Manuel on the panel, Mr. Manuel Romero, and please remember to unmute your mic. Thank you. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Your Honor. Pleasure. Okay, well, welcome all the members watching, and just a tip for all the people that were gracious enough to join this seminar. I will tell you that we have a lot of vacancies in the appellate division right now, and we will be interviewing starting March. This is a tip just from being on the program. You know, starting March, we're going to start interviewing and get those applications in. You know, I've been on the committee, on the governor's committee for the appellate division for the second department, because we have one for the first department. I'm on the second department, but for about 12, 15 years, I think now, and other committees as well. But the committee is made out of many different members. I'm a plaintiff injury practitioner, trial lawyer, and as a trial attorney, I'm kind of partial to having judges that have some trial experience, because I think they understand my case better on the appellate division. But that's not the case solely because we have corporate lawyers, we have land zoning attorneys on the committee, we have Bass Field, we have judges. Judge Leibowitz is our chair from the Supreme Court of Queens, former Supreme Court judge from Queens. And we have many different practitioners. And as Judge Mendez brought out, to publish, it's important. You got to publish. So I've seen from over the years on the committee that being a past trial judge is important, yes, but you have to publish. You have to build that resume, as Judge LaSalle said. And he does his research. He does his research because he checked the committee and he made that very clear. And one of the questions I always asked Judge LaSalle was, you got to join the Bar Association. I think it's good to pad that resume and be involved with the Bar Association because the lawyers know that you care, you're fair. You know, Judge Bowers mentioned you have to appear being fair. And the lawyers want to know that you're involved in their associations, participate, speak at seminars like you're doing now. And that shows that you're fair and you're willing to listen and you're willing to partake in the whole judicial process, in the legal process. You know, we're all lawyers before we became judges. And we have a love for the law. That's why we do this. You know, that's why we're involved so much. And Judge LaSalle, when he came, just tell you that he was before us recently for his, for the presiding justice position in the second department. And he joined the Bar Association as soon as I asked that question, 5 years ago. So he was already in there. I mean, he knew my question. Any bar? Oh, I joined the Bar Association, the State Bar Association. But it's important for the attorneys to know that you're going to be fair. And Judge Bowers mentioned that. Judge Mendez mentioned that as well, that it's good to appear fair. and Judge LaSalle. And you have to hear both arguments. I know that, you all know that, but the appearance is that you have to be seen as a fair jurist when you come before the committee. We want to know that you're open to any argument, any case. And what Judge Mendez mentioned, the publishing, we do, and you know the application, right? It's 45 pages. It's intense. I mean, I look at this and I say, I will never be a judge because I will never get through this form. But your mortgages, your children, your ex-spouses, all three of them or four of them, I don't know how, but all the spouses, we do the research. It's intense. And LaSalle did the research on the committee, and I suggest that's a good thing to do. You have to know the folks that are there and what they're going to ask you, and you'll see that the committee is made out of many different practitioners from a lot of different fields, and it's good to have a balance. I mean, 12 practice is great. I like that. I'm partial to that, but it's good to be able to talk about land zoning. We have a member who's a land zoning. Every question is land zoning. You're going to get a land zoning question. So look up that when you're going to go to the committee, land zoning, person out there on the island. But anyway, land zoning, corporate, criminal. We have some criminal practitioners. I know Judge LaSalle had criminal housing, family court, a lot of backgrounds. Not all of you do that. I know Judge Barros was from the criminal part, and that's not to say that limits you, but it's good to be able to expand your background. That means publish, right? Take decisions, and we do look at that. When we have 12 members in my committee, and the way it works, just so you know, it's a rating of highly qualified or not highly qualified. That's it. You got two ratings. There's no such thing as qualified. It's either highly or not, because you have to be highly qualified to be on the appellate division. So that's it, two ratings. And they appoint a member. One member does the heavy lifting of calling the people on this very lengthy application, but the entire committee reads everything. We read every document, we go through it. And I usually, what I do, and I did it when I was screening Judge LaSalle, I told him I did that. I go to lawyers in his part. I call attorneys that I know practice in Suffolk County, and I did that. And I know folks out there, and I said, what about this guy LaSalle? What do you know about him, And you get a different perspective from the bench, from people that are not on the application, because I know the recommendations and the references are probably going to say nice things about him, right? You would think, right? So you want to go to folks that appear before him that he doesn't know are going to be speaking about him. And I do that, and a lot of members do that. We go to attorneys that appear before the judge, and it's easier with judges. Now we get applicants who are not judges; they're lawyers. You don't have to be a judge to apply to certain courts. I think the appellate division you may have to be a Supreme Court judge, but we did the Court of Appeals, and I'm on the State Bar Court of Appeals committee, and they're not lawyers. They're not judges. So then we have to. It's a little hard. Then we go to the bar associations and the courts, and we find out what kind of practice they do and try to get their colleagues to talk to. But when it comes to jurists, it's much easier because to screen judges, because we have the decisions, and somewhat you're right a lot, and we do read them, and you get questioned on your decisions, and what's the best decision or the decision you're most proud of? Tell us about that, and it gives us a feedback of what you're interested in, what your topic is, and we ask that question always. What's the best case that you're involved with, that you're proud of, that you wrote a decision that you were involved in? And that's important. Think about that. What case can I bring before the committee? You're going to be asked that question. But Judge Barros mentioned this, and so did Judge Mendez. The appearance of fairness. The committee, they're all lawyers, except for the chairman, who's a prior judge. But they're all lawyers, and we want to elect judges to the appellate division that are fair. That we get the impression they're going to be fair. That listen to both sides, and you have to give writings indicating that you looked at both sides. And I think when you write a decision, the way you write a decision, and I think with the second department, right? We wait a long time to get decisions. I know that's an issue that we've been dealing with. The second department takes a long time for us to get the decision. I'm sorry, Judge LaSalle, and Judge Powers, but we wait a long time to get those decisions. But you're overworked.
Facts are facts. Facts are facts, Mr. Rubin.
It's we need judges, that's why we have the vacancies. We have to fill those slots, and I think we're going to get there. But you're overworked, you read a lot. I mean, I know some of you personally, and you're always reading, you talk to them, I got to read tonight. I got to leave, I got to read tonight. They're always reading, it's really a very difficult job. So we need more judges, and hopefully we'll get to that. But, your resume, Judge LaSalle mentioned that, the resume is important. Join the bar associations. Judge LaSalle did that, join bar associations so they see that you're involved in the community, that the community you're involved with. Join associations in your neighborhood. I think that Judge Barros is very involved with her association with the in Kings County, with her neighborhood. It's important for the committee to see that you're involved and not just a judge of the part, that you're involved in your community, you're right, you're involved in association. It just makes you more rounded. I like that when I'm screening folks that have different things on their resume, that it's not just, this case and that case, that they take part and see the effects of their decisions that affect the community. Whatever you decide affects people, and you have to be aware of that, and you have to let that be known. But I think all of you, I don't have to, I'm teaching. Who am I talking to? You guys all do that. Every one of you here, I know I've read your decisions. I screen you in one way or another. So Judge Manzanet, I've met her. I've seen your papers. I've seen all your papers. But I don't have to tell you folks that. But the folks out there that want to move up to the appellate division, join associations, partake in publish if you can, as much as you can. And when you write your decisions, look at all the factors, and you do that, and let them know that you're thinking fairly, you're a fair jurist, and you look at all the sides and then come to that decision. But you have to, fairness is critical. Judge Mendez said that, Judge Gonzalez, Judge Barros, and that's one thing we have to do. I will tell you that Lee Franny is the representative for the judicial screening committees for the governor. And she told me that anyone that wants to submit an application, she's free to talk to you. You could email her, and I'll give you the information if you want to. I could leave, Judge Manzanet can leave you my email. I would be glad to give you her email and her phone number. And she's anyone that's interested in the application. Just so you know, this is the old application was 45 pages, and it's 15 copies they wanted in the old days. Actually, before the pandemic. Now we just take a PDF, email it. You could email one document, and we'll make copies from that. So you don't have to do 15 copies like someone you had to do. I'm sorry, Judge LaSalle, did you have to send 15 copies in? I don't.
3 times.
Anyway, yeah. Now it's just one. Just email it.
Mr. Romero, one of the questions from our members is, she was surprised that someone would go through the process of the screening panel, get approved, but not get appointed until years later. Can you explain to our members why that is?
Well, the governor has a lot of say in how the process goes, and I know Judge Mendez went through the process, right? You were approved, and you waited 3 years to actually be appointed. The committee, we screen the candidates, and the way it works, if you're found highly qualified, you're approved, and we send your name to the governor. The governor can only select a judge that was found highly qualified. If the committee finds anybody not qualified or not highly qualified, the governor cannot select that judge. So if you are found highly qualified, your name goes to the governor. If you're found not highly qualified, your name will not go to the governor. We don't tell that, you don't know that. Folks don't know whether they're found highly qualified or not. But if the committee finds you not highly qualified, you will not be appointed. The governor doesn't have the right to select you, to appoint you. He can't do it. So the committee does have some say in that. Once if you get through the committee, if you're found highly qualified, then the governor can appoint you. If you're found not highly qualified, you will not get appointed. Now, I don't know if some folks that interviewed were found highly qualified, not highly qualified. Sometimes we don't know. But the governor selects only people that went to the committee. Okay, so if you didn't get to the committee, you may not know it, but the governor has no choice but not to select it. So that's part of it. The other thing is, You know, yeah, actually, we don't have enough. I was going to say in the inception that we don't have enough names. You know, we only get 6, 7, 8 names for the applications. We need more applicants, and I always tell my colleagues out, the attorneys and judges, apply. You know, get your name into the committee. You know, get your name in. We don't have enough, and people say, "Oh, it's too much work," or "I don't think I'm going to get it." You don't know if you're not going to get it if you don't apply.
As they say in Lotto, you have to be in it to win it, people.
Exactly.
So
That's
you
my
really
point.
do have to apply. Now, I think one of the things to add to Mr. Romero's response is that the governor does not have a set time frame in which he has to make these appointments. So it literally is whenever he feels like making the appointment. Okay,
I say that.
I mean, that's, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No, but
Judge Manson
it's
at
the
Daniels
truth.
is
It's the truth.
known
It's the
for
truth.
calling it like it is, and that is the way it is.
It is,
He
yeah.
simply has no time frame that he's mandated to act by, and so he does it when he feels like making the appointment. We have 7, I believe, in the second department, and at least 5 in the first department, depending on what happens with these certification cases as well. Judge Barros wants to add something to the issue of qualifications. Betsy?
Yes, I had actually a question for Manny, and two, I wanted to speak to qualifications. So if someone is found not highly qualified, does that, are you prohibited from submitting a second application after you, build
No,
it up?
you could submit again, absolutely. You know,
And you've
absolutely.
seen that oftentimes.
Not limited. No, it's just in that round. They have rounds. In that round, no, but you could submit for the next round. The new round, we call them rounds. There's a new rounds of interviews coming in March for this with seating. The second department is we're lacking in judges. We know that. We're way short of judges in the appellate division. And we're trying to do what we can, but you know, the committee, we want the judges, you know, we're practitioners, we want the judges, but it takes time. Just, you know, Sally Manzanet mentioned, the governor does take his time, you know, and he's slow at getting those judges and getting around to it. And we've been pushing and trying to get them done. You know, we always question, like, listen, we screen all these judges, you know, we have found them, why aren't they being appointed? You know, and we do ask those questions, the committee does, because we want to have the judges rendering decisions for the practitioners. And every member of that committee, the screening panel, we're all practitioners, and we want the decisions to come in to guide us on how to practice. You know, and let us know how to do our job, help us do our job by giving us the decisions that we can move forward. So we do tell the governor and we ask him to, but it's in his time, you know, it's in Governor Cuomo's time when he gets to it. But rest assured that the committee does want the names to go through and get it done, because we're short. We're very short.
Are the interviews virtual or in person these
Right
days?
now, they're all Zoom conferences now. They're all Zoom conferences now, ever since the pandemic, and that's why we limited the application just to a PDF file. You don't have to submit 15 copies anymore. Just email it. Email it to Lee Fraining, and I'll give you. Take my email. It's trialattorney@gmail.com. Trial ATTY. That's very easy. Trial ATTY@gmail.com. Just email your information. I'll send you her information to Lee Fraining, and she'll tell you. You could speak with her. She's the head of the judicial screening committee for the governor. She responds right to the governor, and I spoke with her today, and she said, "Not a problem. Let them reach out to me directly. You know, she wants to help you get there, and she will simplify the process. And feel free to email her or speak to her. She's willing to speak with every member here that wants to elevate and move forward. She's okay with that."
So Manny, you indicated that they're going to interview in March, but don't you have like a number of people who are already on the list of highly qualified that could be considered for appointment?
Absolutely no. The people that have interviewed and have been found qualified, they're already in there for consideration. Okay, they're in.
So you
they're
have
in
a
there.
pool of people
We have
to,
a pool of people, but we always want to have more. Okay.
Manny, in the first,
And we have a lot of vacancies. It's not just two. I think we have like 7 at least.
yeah,
Now.
Manny, in the first department, it has been our experience that if you've gone through the process, and made it through the process and came out highly qualified, you are told that if you want your name reconsidered, you can just put your name back in and you don't have to redo another application. Is it the same process in the second department?
Same process, same process. You just have to let the committee or Lee Franny, our executive director, know that you want to be considered, and she'll put your name in there. But so if you want to be considered, you want to let her know, but you don't have to go to the interview and you're already found highly qualified, you're in there. The governor can consider it, you know, and our notes. Just so you know, when we do the interview, when we do our reports, we do write notes of our own impressions on this, on the document. So we do express our thoughts on the candidate. You know, we could do that. So we do that. So the application is there. It's the form is in, and you don't have to go through the process again. But you have to let them know that you're interested in being considered. So that's the only thing you have to do. Let them know you want to be considered, and they'll get your application, they get your recommendations and the reports from the committee, and then you don't have to go through the the long process that you all went through. Well, once is enough, in my opinion. But so that's the way it works. It's the same thing in the second department, Judge.
I just wanted to mention also, as part of the process, I know that a big part of the application involves the cases that you've been involved in and whether or not they've been reversed or modified or affirmed. And there's statistics about that. They asked you to keep track of that. You should be keeping track of that, who the litigants were, what the outcomes were, and be ready to defend any number of cases where it may be controversial, where you may have been reversed and maybe it just seems idiotic, but you have a really good reason. So you need to be prepared to defend whatever position you took. And by the same token, the appellate judges also have an idea of which judges they would want to be a partner with them on the bench. And we look at slips that say nothing, and we have no idea what the analysis was, and it may be totally correct, but we have to start from square one because you haven't written it down, you haven't explained your analysis, and it creates a tremendous amount of work for us, which we really don't appreciate given the backlogs that we have. So we have to figure it all out. So it is very helpful. And you will develop a reputation very quickly from us. I don't know how much it weighs in on the ultimate decision, but I do think it does to some extent, because they do ask our presiding justices what they think of the particular attorneys, judges who are in Supreme Court. You really need to put it all down there, even if it means in some cases signing off an oral transcript of your analysis. If that's, if you're in one of those parts where you can't write everything down on everything, you need to let us know what your thinking was. And it really does, it would be helpful to you and be helpful to us as well.
Judge Colon, Betsy, Judge Colon has asked that you explain that a bit more. Your last point. All I can tell you is I got reversed on one of those quick slip opinions once. And when I got to the appellate division, my sister colleague, Angela Mazzarelli, remembered that particular reversal and said, we had no idea why you decided what you decided. So in other words, if you don't give them the reasoning, you are adding tremendous work to the court and making them fish through the record to decipher what that reasoning was, and you are less likely to be upheld if the court has to do that.
And sometimes the court may start thinking, well, you know what, you're really not working very hard to, you're just doing some things willy-nilly for all we know. You're not really doing an in-depth analysis, and we have no idea what you're doing. So put it down. You may have had it all figured out in your mind, and and I understand some parts that you sit on. You don't have the luxury of writing everything down in all your analysis, but especially on the ones that are close and you think they're going to be coming up to the appellate division, put your analysis down, write it down, do a decision, even if you don't.
Especially the bar, we read the decisions. The committee reads your decisions, and we hate to see decisions when we cannot decide. see the reasoning. How did you reach this approach? Why did you decide this? We want to see your thought processes and how you came to that decision, so we could know how to practice, right? So we know how to practice ourselves. But when we go through your decisions, we want to see how you came to that conclusion, and not just said denied, or what, just tell us why it was denied or approved or whatever. But let us know, and that helps us, and that's good. That's what the publishing of the decision. Make sure the decisions indicate your thinking and why. So this way we understand how to practice, and the lawyers see it that way, but other judges as well, like Judge Bowers mentioned.
Judge Perez has a question. One, do you have to be elected in the department you apply?
Nope.
No.
No.
And she asks, what do you recommend to a newly elected Supreme Court judge like herself in terms of helping prepare her for an eventual move to the appellate division, I would gather is the full question.
Okay. Join the State Bar Association, right, Judge LaSalle? It's good to be part. You don't have to join that particular bar association. You could join any bar association, but I think it's good to be around attorneys and join committees that you can see how we practice out there and what we think, and because we're all partners, in the law. I think judges and attorneys. So that's a good thing. Join a bar association. I know a lot of them are PRBA. I'm a PRBA member, state bar member, trial lawyers, a lot of them. But I've learned a lot by being involved in those bar associations, from being with my colleagues and jurists as well that are in those associations. I learned how they think, how they come to their decisions, and how to practice better. They made me a better lawyer by just being around them and listening to them. And so join the bar associations. Judge Perez is one, and attend their committees and partake in the committees. Spend some time being with with lawyers and other judges, and round yourself out and put that on your resume. I'm a member of this bar association. The committee members look at that. I know I do, but other members do that you are involved in trying to educate the bar. That's part of education. You want to give of yourself to the bar and the community. I saw Judge Sylvia Hines Radix here before. She was my presiding judge in Brooklyn. I know Judge Radix a long time. She left us though, but I want to say hello. But she was very involved in her community. She had programs where she had high school students come and do mock trials, and she was very involved, and that was very impressive. And we like that. I would like to see that she was involved in her community and her in the association. She was also very involved with the Brooklyn Bar, but that helps. And what else can I tell you?
I would add that, and I think we touched upon this, if you want to make the application easier for yourself, keep copious notes of what cases you've had, what trials you've had, what motions, who the litigants are. Just keep a book and keep track, because they will ask you and you're going to want to, be able to refer back to it. So it would make your job a lot easier on the application.
Yes, Judge Mendez and Judge Gonzalez both have something they'd like to add to Judge Perez's question.
I agree with everything that's been said. But if one of the things that I would stress is that before you put in your application, that you have developed a body of work in the Supreme Court that the committee can look at and can weigh, because I know for that the work that I did in the civil court and in the criminal court when I sat there was nowhere as complicated as the work that I did in the Supreme Court. The trials and the motions and the cases that I got. I mean, I got a lot of press cases when I sat in the Supreme Court, and I was published a lot, but I developed a body of work so that when I submitted my 45-page, 50-page application, it had some meat in it. It had stuff that they could look at and say, well, this person has been in Supreme Court and they've handled these cases, and we can go and we can talk to attorneys who have appeared before this judge, and they can say something either positive or negative, mostly positive, hopefully, And, there's something there that we can look at. Because, when you sit in civil court, you're handling small claims, you're handling a lot of pro se litigants. The cases are not as in-depth and complicated. Another thing, stay away from the one-liner decisions, because those are the ones that are going to confuse the heck out of everybody, not give guidance to the attorneys, and basically send the word to the people in the panel. If that's what you're doing, is like, this person is not really doing a lot. They're not really working as hard as we would like someone at the appellate division to work. So, develop a body of work in the Supreme Court before you put in your application. I mean, that's my opinion.
Judge Gonzalez?
I think there's nothing more discouraging than seeing a handwritten decision that says so-and-so reversed for the reasons set forth in the record. Do more than that. And if you can, stay away from handwritten decisions unless you know how to write clearly. Having said that, it is important to publish, and let's talk about that for a minute. So you know that you can send your decisions to the Law Journal, and the Law Journal looks for content. The problem is that not everybody's reading the print edition of the Law Journal because a lot of people are working at home. So something else that you can do besides sending your decisions to the Law Journal is sending them to the State Reporter. And then they will have a citation that's available. That's important because the ability to review, all of us are saying this in different ways. Your decisions are going to be scrutinized. Do you have the ability to pivot into new areas? Do you have the ability to handle complex analysis? Do you know citations? Do you have enough citations, or are you leaning on stuff from the last century? What is the quality of your scholarship? And that's where you can shine. That's where you could shine. It's going to be reviewed. You're going to be asked, what is it, Manny, the last 10 cases, the last 10 decisions that
Trials, yeah.
Yeah, you can submit, but we actually do independent
as well.
we do. We go.
We had an important question that I think a lot of people are probably curious about, and I open it up to whoever would like to respond to it, but I'd like to get this question in before our program ends. How does the committee deal with negative comments made of jurists? Is the jurist given an opportunity to defend such perceptions during their interview?
Absolutely. We do it all the time. We tell the judge, we heard that you had this issue. Can you tell us about that? Tell us about that decision, and we give them a chance to tell us why whatever happened. It could be a dissatisfied attorney. He lost the case, so we want to know whether the attorney lost the case, and that's why he wrote a bad comment about the judge. And we asked the judge to tell us. We approach it because we want to hear from him if there's a reason for that. And we do get negative comments from a lot of jurists. It happens. But it's interesting how you get a very strong negative, but yet you have 50 wonderful comments. So we get this negative comments. So where did this come from? And we want to know why. And there's always a reason. There was some issue that the attorney had, and the judge is the best person to tell us why there was an issue, and we do give them that opportunity. And if he wants to, we'll let the judge know. If you want to discuss this, Your Honor, we had this comment on, and we heard that you could be very serious, and you don't suffer fools easily, and you're very tough on the litigants. But is that a bad thing? I don't think that's a bad thing. If you're prepared to try your case, you're not going to appear not to be prepared. Some lawyers are not that well prepared, and that's why judges lose their temper a little bit. So some judges have been criticized for being tough, but when you look at
Like yours truly.
I'm not saying names. I know
I got that a lot.
I know the panel I'm in front of. I know some of you. You could be very tough, but you don't suffer. But you don't suffer fools easily. If you're prepared and you do your job and you present your case, you're not gonna, you're gonna be. You're gonna have a good decision from the judge. You're gonna be treated correctly by the judge. You have to be respectful and you have to present your case and be prepared. I mean, you can't go in there and not be prepared. And a lot of judges we've interviewed don't take that lightly. You don't waste my time. Coming into this court not being prepared. And I've seen that many, and I'm okay with that. And that's not an issue. But lawyers complain about a judge, but we always ask the judge to answer the question. We ask the judge, we've heard you're very tough. You have temperamental. There's some comments about your temperament, Judge. What do you think about that? And the judge will tell us why. Usually I don't suffer fools easily. If they're not prepared, I'm a little. I demand a little bit because I work hard and I expect them to work hard. We got that response. I said, oh, okay. Another thing I want to add, just with the affirm rates on this, and reversals and appeals. Believe it or not, we get some judges that 40%, reversal, right? But that judge is really working hard. So don't go by that. We're not. That judge is writing decisions, a lot of decisions, so he's going to be, reverse often, but he's working or she's working and she's working hard, and those decisions are going on. All right, so she has a lot of reversals, but she's working. Other judges don't have any reversals because they're not writing decisions. Right? So I'd rather have the decisions, reversal or not, than someone that has no decisions. So we want the record, and we want judges to give us those decisions so we could have some guidance. Reversal or not, they're thinking about it and they're writing, right? Reversal, you're writing. It's good to be published, like Judge Mendez mentioned. Published, write the decision. Reversal, that doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter that much to us, really.
Great. And now the last question will come from our Vice President, Walter Rivera, who will then close out the program. Before I do, I want to thank everyone for joining us and participating. And I do want to say this, anyone who decides to apply, the Latino Judges Association está presente, ready, willing, and able to assist you in your prep, assist you in your application process in terms of helping you through it. And we have done mock interviews for anyone who has decided that they are applying. You must reach out to us. I don't get a list of who is applying. So if you want our help, estamos a la orden. Walter, the floor is yours. And again, thank you to our wonderful guests.
Thank you, Sally, and thank you to all the panelists. I do have a question before we close. And first, I'll start with a comment. We have never had a Latino justice in the 3rd or 4th department. And as an association, I think we should give that attention and priority. I know that the court system is well aware of this. Secretary Johnson in his report highlighted how upstate has special issues that are not common down in the city or not. So how can we as an association address that hole, gaping hole? And to my knowledge, there's only one elected Latino Supreme Court justice upstate. And I'm not talking about Westchester. We're not upstate. I'm talking about Albany and Schenectady. We have a justice up there, Michael Cuevas. But in any event, how can we start to address that?
You have to submit the documents. We don't have enough applicants. I said that earlier. I am amazed how few applicants we get for the seats. We get 5 candidates come in, and we have 7 vacancies. How come we don't have 20 applicants? We have to apply, and I know it's tedious, it's a difficult process, but I would love to see more Latinos, more of our folks applying for the seat. They're there, and the governor will look at it, but we have to be in it, and we're just not applying. I'm surprised that we have so limited applications. Every time we to review, I like to see more, and just too few. And when Judge LaSalle is applying for the presiding judge, I think we have like 4 seats, 4 applicants. It's like too.
Who's in charge of the screening for the third and fourth departments? Is like a,
Well,
We need to
Lee Franny, who I mentioned earlier, Lee Franny she's the director of all the screening committees for all of them. And I'll give you her email, just text me. I'll give you her email and her phone number, and she's willing to speak with you. So Walter, you should bring that up to her, and you're aware of that. Let her know, and I'll let her know ahead of time that you may call her on that. I don't know what the situation is up there, north of Westchester, but I would like to.
Right.
Interesting.
Manny, may I just ask you, when you say there's only 4 or 5 applicants, you mean Latino applicants, applicants of color, or applicants altogether for 7 vacancies?
Altogether, I think Judge LaSalle was the only Hispanic we had this time around, I believe.
5 applicants, period, across the board for 7 positions?
For the presiding justice slot, for the presiding justice, but that I would have expected more applicants, and we don't get them. For the other 7 we have 7 vacancies, and that's coming up in March. I don't know how many we're gonna get, but I'm advising the folks on this program that it's coming in March. So get your applications in now, because we'll be interviewing come March for those vacancies in the second department. So, get them in, and this way you're in it. Judge Manson mentioned you have to be in it, to win it. So.
I know you're almost out of time. If I could just really quick about the third department, that seems to be
Yes.
more of a political issue. It would seem that the governor, and I'm not being critical, but the governor was able to find an African-American person from Westchester and have them go and serve up in the third department. I would think that if there were any Latinos in the second department or the first department who were interested, I would imagine you'd be able to apply there like anywhere else. And if you were willing to serve in Albany, that's not the real ultimate fix we want, but it's at least a short-term fix to make sure the communities of color in the upstate regions have some representation. Again, that's more of a political issue, but I just wanted to make a point to say that.
A Latino was asked from the Bronx to go up. They declined, but that is an option.
You can apply to any department. You're not limited.
Walter, it's time for you to close out the program, unfortunately.
Well, again, I want to thank our distinguished panelists, our moderator, and each of you for attending this wonderful, informative panel. It was recorded, so it can be seen by those who were not able, due to scheduling issues, attend. So this is part of the record, so to speak. It was on the record. And again, thank you. Stay safe. And we will be here for you. If anyone wants to apply, as Sally said, that's part of our mission, a big part, to help and promote one another in our respective endeavors and careers, and to support one another. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks so much.
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches a todo mundo. Gracias.
good night. Thank you.
Just
Good night,
Colon,
everyone.
if you have a question, just Colon. Feel free to email me, trialattorney@gmail.com, and I'll be glad to answer your question on that. Okay. You got it.
I put Manny Romero's email on the chat. And Manny, if you could send me the email and name of the individual you kept on referring to, I will send it to all of tonight's attendees.
Yeah, she's the head of all the committees. You may want
Yes.
to have that email in your.
Please
Thank you
do
so
send
much.
that. That is important. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so
All have a
It's
good
real
night.
privilege to be part of this prestigious, amazing group of judges. My honor, Judge Betsy.
Thank
Walter, un
you,
placer.
thank
Judge
you.
Mendes, thank you. LaSalle, I'll see you again, Judge. I think so. Your Honor, Manzanet, a pleasure, a pleasure.
Thank you. Buenas noches.
Yeah,
Good night,
everybody.
Adios. Buenas
Good night,
noches a todo
everybody.
el mundo. Gracias.
Good night.
Good night, guys.
Good night. Thank you, Sally. Okay.
You are welcome.
Okay.
Let us know if we can be of help, okay?
Okay.
Please.
Thank
That's
you.
what we're here for.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Manny, thank you. You were
Oh.
fantastic.
Oh, no, you're fantastic. And, you get younger every year. What's going on? What's the secret? I'm getting heavier and getting weight. Look at you. How do you do it? How do you do
I'll
it?
tell you, the pandemic started and I started yoga
Oh, there's the
to
secret.
kind of
Yoga now.
de-stress
after the yoga.
And it helped me lose weight. It helped me to just kind of
And you
keep
know
it all
what?
together, you
see
know?
it. You look so relaxed and so comfortable, and your skin tone. I can't say enough. I'm amazed. You know.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much.
A
Don't
pleasure,
forget to
Judge.
send me
Good to
that email, okay?
Yeah, I'll send it to you. You have your. What can I send it to? Do you have your email? I can send it to, or you get.
SAL.
I got it. I got it.
You got it.
That one, as mentioned, the New York Coast.
That's fine. You can send it there.
Okay. Oh, the other
Okay.
one. Okay, that one. I'll send you the information. No problem.
Thank you
Buenas
so
noches.
much.
Un placer, mi amor. Okay. Mwah.
Igual. Buenas noches.
Buenas noches.